Mr. Speaker, sir,
Please. Order, please.
if you would be so kind as to inform me how much time is allotted to me, it would help me greatly.
Until you finish.
I don't expect that you will give me the sort of time you have given some of the other speakers, 1 hour, 1.5 hours. I don't expect that. I'm not asking for it also.
For you, there is no time limit, sir.
Yeah.
You can speak.
I'm sorry the Prime Minister is not here at this moment because I have some things to say.
Our cabinet is here, without the head. Headless.
So the Home Minister, when he was speaking earlier as the main spokesman of the government, had listed some parties on whom he has got no further hope that they will be able to correct themselves. And some, of course, on whom he has got hope. And among the parties on whom he says that he still has some hope that they will see their folly and return to the correct path was my party. I don't know whether I should be honored or complimented or mystified by this compliment that he has given.
Feel insulted.
This was in relation to the attitude of parties towards the Congress. So if he was implying that our party, which has a long record and long tradition of fighting against Congress misrule in this country, which misrule went on for so many years. Therefore, now he thinks that perhaps we should keep that in mind and not take up a position which could be construed as being in favor of the Congress. Well, the first thing I want to say is that there is no question at all, I want to make it clear, of our forgetting anything that the Congress party, while in power, has done against the interests of the people and of the country. That will never be forgotten, that is on record. And
सुनिए, थोड़ा सुनिए, धीरज रखिए.
after all, sir, I cannot forget that our United Front government was pulled down after less than 2 years by this same Congress party, or some of its leaders at any rate. They had assured us on the floor of the House that they would support this government of ours and help it to function. But later on, when their desire for power, for becoming ministers, became too much to resist, then the then president of their party, took the lead in seeing to it that our government was pulled down, which was not a difficult job at all because we had no majority of our own. We were dependent on the outside support of the Congress. Nevertheless, they did it, and on a specious plea about something which they alleged was there in the Jain Commission's report, which was not there at all. And I doubt very much how many members of the Congress party's leadership had even bothered to read the Jain Commission's report. Eh?
He
I don't know.
glanced it.
What?
Glanced it. Glanced.
I don't know. I don't know.
Not read,
It
glanced.
was my misfortune to have to read that report because it was delivered to me in my office, Home Minister's office, by Mr. Jain himself. And in that report, sir, there were allegations made against the DMK government in Tamil Nadu. And I don't go into those allegations now, but it was stated that in view of those allegations, unless we, that is the United Front government, agree to expel the DMK from the United Front, and have nothing further to do with them, then the support of the Congress to our government will have to come to an end. Well, we did not agree with that. We did not accept that argument because we think they were making incorrect and unverified charges, Mr. Jain, against the DMK government. I hope the DMK friends are here. Yes, because after what has happened today, they should say, you should be behind us, you were with us, but now you are behind us. But anyway, whatever it is, you are now with them. I wish you well.
Wish whom well?
So, sir, our government was pulled down. I know, I cannot forget that the Congress party was responsible for that. I also cannot forget, and I don't wish to forget, and I don't wish to gloss over it, that for the almost 50 years that they ruled uninterrupted with their own single-party majority, they have done many things which were not in the interests of the common people, the poorer sections of the people, and of the country as a whole. I also cannot forget that when the masjid was pulled down by some gentlemen enjoying the support of these people here, the government at the center was the government of Mr. Narasimha Rao. The government in Lucknow was the government of Kalyan Singh. But the government at Delhi was the government of Mr. Narasimha Rao. And while one lot of people were actively engaged in demolishing the mosque, Mr. Narasimha Rao's government preferred to play the role of a passive spectator. They never intervened, they never did anything to stop it. They had with them the armed forces, the police, the law, the jails, everything they could have. They never did anything. So we have not forgotten these things at all. And you think that now we are just rushing to embrace the Congress. Who told you that? But we are faced with a situation where if it is possible to form an alternative government, one should try for that. If we cannot do it, that's a different matter. Then either we fail, either this government continues, or we will, all of us, have to go for elections, which also is a prospect that most of the members, honorable members of all the parties do not like. So now, sir, what I wish to say is, briefly, I shall be brief. What Mr. Advani was trying to suggest, that why a party which has always been anti-Congress and fought against the Congress should suddenly become soft towards the Congress. I'm afraid I cannot satisfy his curiosity, nor can I share his views, because we have certainly not gone soft on the Congress at all. But we are living in an age of coalition politics, fortunately or unfortunately. And, sir, the polity of the country is fractured. Everybody knows it. That is why it is very difficult to bring about unity even among like-minded parties. It is very difficult for the general body of voters nowadays to vote for one single party and give it a majority. It's not happening. 3 times we have seen what has happened. It is because the polity is completely fractured for various reasons. For factors based on community, based on casteism, based on regional interests, based on so many different things. The polity has become completely fractured. And therefore, in this complicated situation, our parties on this side are, of course, discussing. They will have to discuss further. They are concerned because they are all interested that this government should go. The reasons for that are being here given in detail by so many other honorable members. And they have to replace it by some other government which will be more democratic in its behavior, more concerned with preserving the unity of the country. The unity of this country has not come about by accident. It has not come about in 1 day or 2 days. It has taken thousands of years to create a country and create a society in such a vast country in which so many people of different origins, different ethnic origins, different cultures, speaking different languages, different kinds of levels of development, are all living together as common citizens of one motherland. It's not an easy thing that history has brought about in all these years. I am proud to be a citizen of this country because of that. Many people forecast and prophesied and wrote big books about India, saying that if the British rule goes from India, this country will not last as a single country. These Indians will fight each other, break each other's heads, indulge in riots and killings, and the whole country will go to pieces. The British fellows, of course, wrote many letters like that. Winston Churchill spoke in the House of Commons like that. On the eve of independence, he said that it is a sad fact, sorry fact, that we are having to withdraw from India now due to compelling circumstances. But I'm warning everybody that once we go, once we leave India, these Indians themselves will destroy their country. It will fall to pieces. Nothing will be left. Well, his prophecy did not come true. More than 50 years have passed. We have many weaknesses, many defects, many quarrels with each other also. Many unpleasant incidents have taken place in this country, no doubt. But the country survived. And today, after 50, 60 years, in the Committee of Nations of the world, India is counted as a major state, as a major power, with its head held high. Who did this? Who has to be given the credit for this? Not this government or that government, sir. In my humble opinion, it is the basic good sense, the patriotism, and the desire of people to live together, that the common people refuse to be broken up into pieces. They have held this country together all these years. And therefore, what I wish to say is that now the country has remained united, true. The polity is falling to pieces. We are facing rather a sad and tragic situation. The state, the country has remained one, but the polity, the political complexion of this country is being fractured and falling to pieces. This is a crisis for all of us. This is not a crisis peculiar to any particular party. We should think sometimes above parties and think of the fate of the country as a whole. So now what I wish to say, sir, is that, of course, Shri Bajpai, for whom personally I have great regard, he is an old friend of mine from long before he was a Prime Minister, and I was only a humble rank and file MP, but we were good friends. He has asked for a vote of confidence because, numerically, according to the figures available, his government had lost its majority in this House. And he's lost its majority, you know why, sir? Because a certain party with 18 MPs in this House, which was with them from the beginning, decided to withdraw its support. Now that gave the occasion for the Prime Minister, on the advice of the Honorable Rashtrapati, to come and ask the House for a vote of confidence. I'm glad he did that. Some friends say it would have been better if he had resigned straight away. But that is his prerogative. He need not resign. He can test it in the House also before he has to go. Anyway, but now what I want to say is, if you don't, please take offense at what I am saying. Many members have said here that Shri Bajpayee, notwithstanding what his personal qualities may be and all that, is not a free agent. He is working under duress. He is working under compulsions. He is working under the pressures of certain other forces, organizations, parties and so on, who are surrounding this government. So I wish to say my one main criticism of the Prime Minister is that he knows very well which are these forces that are hostile to many of the policies and ideas which have been formally announced by him or his government. But my complaint is that he has never taken a strong, a firm, a categorical stand against them. This government under his leadership is trying to do, there is a saying, sir, you know, in English, running with the hare and hunting with the hounds. इसका मतलब है, आप समझते हैं, वो जो शिकार करने वाले कुत्ते होते हैं, शिकारी कुत्ते,
बंजारों के पास रहता है
तो उनको वो एक छोटा सा वो जानवर होता है, खरगोश, खरगोश है ना, वो खरगोश को दौड़ाया जाता है, उसके बाद ही पीछे ये शिकारी कुत्ते दौड़ते हैं, उसको
सियार को भी पकड़ता, सियार मरवा भी होता।
हाँ, उसको पकड़ के उसको पकड़ पाए तो फिर उसको छोड़ते नहीं। तो मेरा कहना ये है सर कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर और उसकी सरकार इन लोगों के बारे में इस किस्म की एक एटीट्यूड लेकर चल रही है कि हम वो खरगोश बन के भी दौड़ेंगे और वो शिकारी कुत्ता बन के भी दौड़ेंगे। पर मेरे ख्याल से ये दोनों काम नहीं चल सकता है एक साथ। आप मुझे माफ कीजिए अगर हिंदी मेरा, मैं आज अंग्रेजी में इसलिए नहीं बोल रहा हूं कि आप बाद में बोलेंगे कि ये लंदन का पार्लियामेंट बना दिया।
आप हिंदी में स्विच ओवर कर दिया अभी।
नहीं, स्विच ओवर किया मतलब हमारे भारत के पार्लियामेंट में तो अंग्रेजी एक रिकग्नाइज्ड भाषा है, क्या करें, ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज भी है, हिंदी के साथ साथ दोनों चलते हैं।
चलाइए।
आपसे हम लोग को सीखना ना है, इसलिए
नहीं, सो मेरा कहना है कि जब अटल जी कॉन्फिडेंस चाहते हैं इस हाउस से, वो किसके प्रति हम लोगों को कॉन्फिडेंस प्रकट करने के लिए कह रहे हैं। आज जो परिस्थिति है भारत में, भारत के समाज में, मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है कि अगर हम कॉन्फिडेंस प्रकट करें तो वो कॉन्फिडेंस किसके ऊपर आएगा, किसके लिए हम कॉन्फिडेंस एक्सप्रेस कर रहे हैं। अशोक सिंघल, गिरिराज किशोर, विनय कटियार, ये लोग खूब माने हुए लोग हैं।
ये नाम बोलने में क्या है?
मैं इनके बारे में कोई कमेंट नहीं कर रहा हूँ।
जो लोग यहाँ नहीं
ये
है,
परिवार
जवाब नहीं दे सकते हैं, उनके नाम माननीय सदस्य ले रहे हैं। क्या सीनियर्स पर
सुनिए क्या बोलता है, सुनिए।
अध्यक्ष जी,
अरे सुनिए ना क्या बोल रहे हैं।
क्या सीनियर्स पर नियम लागू नहीं होता?
बोला तो बहुत अच्छा, बड़ा बड़ा
इसके बारे कोई मैंने
कोई
इनके बारे में मैंने कोई टिप्पणी नहीं किया, मैंने कोई इनकी नुक्ताचीनी नहीं की। क्यों आप ऐसे तड़प रहे हैं और घबरा रहे हैं?
इग्नोर कीजिए, इग्नोर कीजिए।
नाम लेना गलत नहीं है, उनके बारे में कहना गलत है। कुछ बारे में तो
हल्दी लहसुन धनिया बेच के आए हो।
सवाल है कि ये जो परिवार है, क्या कहते हैं, संघ परिवार, इस संघ परिवार के माने हुए नेतागण हैं। संघ परिवार के वक्तव्य जनरली इनके मार्फत ही हम लोग पढ़ते हैं, अखबारों में, पत्रिकाओं में, दूसरी जगह सुनने में आता है। और मैं एक सवाल पूछ रहा हूं, मैं जानने चाहता हूं कि बीजेपी जो पॉलिटिकल पार्टी है, व्हाट इज द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन द बीजेपी एज अ पार्टी एंड दिस संघ परिवार? संघ परिवार आर नॉट एनिमीज ऑफ बीजेपी, आई सपोज। उनका ये मान तो मैंने नहीं सुना कभी, मुझे नहीं मालूम कि वो अटल जी के सरकार को गिराने चाहते हैं। हो सकता है कि वो कोई उनमें ऐसा भी सोचे, लेकिन मुझे मालूम नहीं। और जहाँ तक ये हिंदुत्व का सवाल है, मस्जिद का सवाल है, मंदिर बनाने का सवाल है, इत्यादि इत्यादि, इसमें इन लोगों का क्या स्टैंड है वो सबको मालूम है। वो बहुत कट्टर इसके ऊपर वो शुरू से आज तक बोलते आए हैं। हालांकि बीच बीच में ये बात मैं मानता हूँ कि बीच बीच में प्रधानमंत्री कभी कभी उनको बहुत मुलायम ढंग से उनको थोड़ा थोड़ा उनको मना करते हैं कि ऐसा नहीं बोलना चाहिए। लेकिन वो सुनने वाले लोग नहीं हैं, वो अपना काम चला रहे हैं। अशोक सिंघल जी ने, आचार्य गिरिराज किशोर ने, विनय कटियार ने, और भी लोग हैं, मैं नाम नहीं कर रहा हूँ, इन लोगों ने कहा है कि हम अपना काम जो करना है हम करेंगे। हम वहाँ बनाएंगे अपना वो मंदिर, वो जहाँ मस्जिद खड़ी थी एक समय, जहाँ वो गिरी है, उसी स्थान पर कोर्ट में कुछ भी राय हो, कोर्ट कुछ भी बोले ना बोले, हम उसी जगह पे, उसी स्थान पर हम अपना नया मंदिर बनाएंगे।
काशी मथुरा,
और काशी मथुरा की बात तो कभी कभी बोलते ही रहते हैं कि उसके बाद 2 नंबर 3 नंबर वो आएगा। और इसमें बजरंग दल और दूसरे संगठन जो है, बजरंग दल का जिक्र मैं इसलिए कर रहा हूँ कि अभी हाल में एक सर्टिफिकेट मिला बजरंग दल को होम मिनिस्टर के द्वारा।
उड़ीसा,
ये जो दुर्घटना हुई उड़ीसा में, जहाँ वो ऑस्ट्रेलियन मिशनरी और उसके 2 बच्चों को जिंदा जलाया गया, तो ये कहा गया कम से कम पत्रिकाओं में, दूसरी जगहों में, कि ये बजरंग दल के लोगों ने शायद किया है। बजरंग दल का नाम वो कहते हैं कि कुछ दिनों से वहाँ आसपास में सुनने में आ रहा था कि ये लोग कुछ तैयारी कर रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं नहीं मालूम। और जब ये अपना नारा भी देते थे, बजरंग दल की जय वगैरह, और जिस दिन वो आए इनको हत्या करने के लिए, उस दिन भी बजरंग दल की जय की आवाज़ सुनने में आया। और एक व्यक्ति, क्या नाम है, दारा सिंह जिंदाबाद, ये नारा भी सुनने में आया। तो लोग कहे कि दारा सिंह कौन है भैया? जानते हैं? आपकी सौभाग्य है आपका।
पूरा देश जानता है।
अच्छा, मैं तो एक बुद्धू आदमी हूँ भाई, मुझे ये सब नहीं मालूम। आपका सौभाग्य कि ऐसे एक व्यक्ति से आपका इतना अच्छा गहरा परिचय। एनीवे, फिर देखिए बाद में कुछ कदम ये लोग उठाए हैं, इंक्लूडिंग वो जो एक जज साहब को मुकर्रर किया गया इस पूरे घटने का एक जांच करने के लिए।
4 महीना ऑफिस में,
वो बहुत अच्छा कदम उठाया, ये पूरा करना चाहिए था और मैं वो समर्थन करता हूँ। लेकिन होम मिनिस्टर साहब ने, जांच जब ऑर्डर हो गया है, जांच अभी चल रहा है, जांच अभी पूरा नहीं हुआ, जांच का क्या फल निकलेगा किसी को मालूम नहीं। ये क्या ज़रूरत थी कि होम मिनिस्टर साहब बयान देकर बोले कि जहाँ तक मैं जानता हूँ ये बजरंग दल ऐसी संगठन है जिसमें कोई अपराधी लोग नहीं है। देयर आर नो क्रिमिनल एलिमेंट्स विद इन द बजरंग दल। I don't know who told him this, or how he discovered it, or why he should give a certificate to them, जब अभी तक वो जांच चल रहा है।
Is he in Bajrang?
ये मेरे ख्याल से ठीक नहीं किया गया। लेकिन मेरा कहना है, और फिर वो पत्थर पे बन रहे हैं वहाँ, वो तो साबित हो गया। वो मंदिर बनाने के लिए वो जो सब पत्थर वगैरह लाकर वहाँ काटे जा रहे हैं, और कारीगरों को ले गया गया है विभिन्न स्थानों से वहाँ जाकर काम करने के लिए। ये तो सब छाप चुका है, फोटो निकल चुके हैं, और हमारे अशोक सिंघल जी ने इसको स्वीकार भी किया है। और उन्होंने, सबसे बड़ी बात ये है कि वो बार बार कह रहे हैं, क्योंकि ये अदालत ने मना कर दिया था कि उस ढंग से उस स्थान पर अब मंदिर बनाना नहीं चलेगा। इसके बावजूद अशोक सिंघल जी बार बार बोलते हैं कि ये ऐसा एक मामला है जो कोर्ट से फैसला कराने का कोई सवाल ही नहीं उठता। इट इज नथिंग टू डू विद द कोर्ट, इट इज समथिंग टू डू विद द सेंटिमेंट ऑफ पीपल। तो इसलिए ये काम वो लोग तेजी के साथ चला रहे हैं, और वो अटल जी की बात इसमें सुनने को राजी नहीं है। लेकिन मेरा कहना है कि अटल जी ने बहुत कमजोर ढंग से, मुलायम ढंग से दो एक बार थोड़ा सा उन लोगों को कहा कि ऐसे मत करो। और जब ये हत्या हुआ उड़ीसा में, तब उन्होंने जाकर वहाँ कहा कि ये जो लोग प्रचार कर रहे हैं कि हत्या का मूल कारण ये है कि ये मिशनरी लोग हैं, ईसाई जो मिशनरी लोग हैं, ये वहाँ आदिवासी लोगों को अपना धर्म बदल के उनको क्रिश्चियन बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, इसलिए लोग वहाँ बिगड़ गए उनके ऊपर, और शायद इसीलिए षड्यंत्र हुआ उनको मारने के लिए। और उन्होंने कहा तो एक देश के अंदर एक डिबेट चलना चाहिए ऑन द क्वेश्चन ऑफ कन्वर्शन, यही बोलकर उन्होंने छोड़ दिया, और कुछ हुआ नहीं। जी जी, जो कुछ बोलना है बोल लीजिए, उसके बाद मैं बोलूंगा, मैं बैठ जाऊं।
के बाद नहीं, आपको ख्याल तो रहता नहीं आपको।
गुजरात की बात,
उड़ीसा के बाद,
अच्छा गुजरात की बात।
अच्छा भाई, गुजरात कन्वर्शन, सॉरी,
ठीक है, ठीक है, गुजरात ही है, ठीक है, उसमें क्या बदल, फर्क क्या हुआ?
फर्क क्या? अच्छा, तो मेरा कहना है, अरे क्या आप क्यों बोल रहे हैं? आप लोग तो एक एक आदमी 10 बार बोलते हैं, क्या हुआ?
नो प्लीज।
ओहो, बच्चेपनी के आदत को छोड़िए। क्या है, एक आदमी अगर 2 बार 3 बार कुछ बोले। So sir, along with these organizations and their leaders, who I think they constitute also, will constitute in future a bigger problem. Also for the government, also for the BJP. We should have some clarity. What is the relationship and how you propose to deal with these people, and why you are so afraid of strongly condemning their utterances and their activities. Why are you afraid? There is some reason behind it. Then, sir, there is I did not mention the RSS. I don't know whether formally the RSS is a member of the Sangh Parivar or not. Are they? I don't know.
Fountainhead.
Fountainhead, chalo. But I don't generally ask anything here about the RSS, because I know that all the leaders of the BJP and most of the ministers, if not all of them, actually had their training and their schooling and guidance with the RSS. They never hide it. They are proud of the fact. MPs also, I said all BJP leaders, that includes MPs. You see?
Even Kumar Mangalam has joined.
So my contention is that RSS organization with headquarters at Nagpur, you see, is practicing backseat driving and is practicing remote control. And very often it is their decisions and their directions which have to be carried out by the BJP government, no doubt. So when we are, some of us are very loud in our praise of this government, our support to this government and so on, they must also remember that this government is not in all respects a free agent. It has to act at the behest of the RSS. So in that case, if you know that well, you should come out and say, we support the RSS. And we would like the RSS to have a firmer
Say that.
hold on this government. I don't know if that is your stand. We saw something happening just now in Bihar, where Mr. Sundar Singh Bhandari, who, by the way, is an old acquaintance of mine. Many of you don't know these things. You should know. He and I worked for a long time together in one committee, which was a committee to study the functioning of the CSIR. Sarkar Committee. You know, the report is there. He and I were members of that committee along with some others, and we got to know each other quite well. And Sundar Singh Bhandari ji was appointed as governor of Bihar. I don't know for certain, I can't prove it, but possibly on the advice of the RSS, because he is a prominent RSS man. And I found no reason why he should be sent to Bihar at that particular juncture, unless it was with the intention of destabilizing the government there, the government of Rabri Devi. Then you know what happened subsequently and all that, and how this 356, Article 356 thing misfired. And the government was removed, first of all. The chief minister had to go, and then later on had to be reinstated, because that approval of the parliament for 356 is not confined to the Lok Sabha, but includes both the houses, and it could not possibly get the approval of the other house, and so it had to be withdrawn. At that stage, the governor, Mr. Sundar Singh Bhandari, at some stage was found to declare openly that he is an RSS man and he is proud to be an RSS man. Well, he can be proud, I don't grudge him his pride. If he finds pride in that, let him enjoy it. But what happens to the Sarkaria Commission's report and the Sarkaria Commission's guidelines, which are there for the government and all governments to follow? Of course, they are guidelines, they are not mandatory. But they are guidelines which have acquired over the years a considerable amount of respectability and acceptance. And one of the guidelines is that the person who is selected to be the governor of a state should not be a person who has been very active in politics, and certainly should not be a person who is an active member or leader of a political party or an organization. But he was appointed and sent, and later on, when they ran into difficulties there, he said, I am a member of RSS, so what? And then strange thing happened. The Home Minister came out with a statement saying that I feel that normally, you see, the governor of a state should be apolitical. Apolitical means non-political in the sense, non-political means in the sense in which the Sarkaria Commission had meant it. Apolitical means that it is above politics. Above politics. He should be a person, it would be better if it was a person like that. And he was asked to, then the order came to withdraw him, transfer him from Bihar. Well, that was understandable, and it was really a commendable thing for Mr. Advani to have recognized, though at a somewhat late stage. When they appointed him, they didn't remember who he was and what his origins were. But at this stage, Mr. Advani said, yes, it would have been better to have had an apolitical man as a governor. So he was removed, or rather transferred, and then after 2, 3, 4 days, we found he brought back again. Later he was again transferred to, I think, Now Gujarat.
माफी मांगी
माफी मांगी.
हाँ हाँ अडवाणी सी जी के
No, माफी मांगी या क्या किया, but anyway, that was quite a mysterious kind of
ऐसा करके चला
a episode.
घुटने टेके घुटने टेके घुटने टेके
नहीं, वो तो घुटना टेके उन्होंने बाल ठाकरे के सामने मुंबई में, जब वो क्रिकेट का मामला था. पाकिस्तानी टीम आने वाली थी, उसको हम लोगों ने इनवाइट किया था. वो कोई अपने आप से जोर जबरदस्ती से थोड़ी आ रहे थे. It's a normal thing, the arrangement of cricket matches programs between different countries, and they were due to come here to play. And Bal Thackeray ji had issued more than one statement saying that they will not be allowed to play in at least in Mumbai. His argument being that they are coming from a country which is hostile to us, which is trying to attack us, which is sending armed people across the border and killing our people and so on. So why should they be allowed to come and play cricket here? I will not allow it, and we will ask all our people to dig up the ground, pitch, so that they cannot play cricket here. Mr. Vaiko, have you ever played cricket? I don't think you are. Are you interested in cricket?
Not interested in cricket. I'm interested in other sports.
Other sports.
Football.
Good. No, but my only trouble with you is that out of this whole combination, the only person you seem to know is Mr. Bajpai. You don't know these other people whom I name. You don't know them, you have never seen them, you don't know anything about them. All right, anyway. So it was in the face of these threats by the leader of the Shiv Sena, who wanted the cricket pitch to be dug up so that no matches could be played. And there was a great deal of concern being expressed about this in the media and in sports circles and in Pakistan and all that. It was at that stage that the Home Minister rushed to Mumbai and, well, I was not going to say fell at the feet of Mr. Thackeray, but they had some confidential talks and all that, and then it was announced that Mr. Bal Thackeray has said very generously that all right, I am postponing my decision for 1 year. After 1 year, we can start digging up the pitch again. But for 1 year now, they can be allowed to play. And that was...
आपका नाम ले इसलिए 1 मिनट इजाजत देता हूँ. नहीं, मुझे कोई क्रिटिसाइज नहीं करना है. ये खाली जो सत्य है वो आपके सामने रखना है, सदन के सामने रखना है. यदि आप इजाजत देते हो, यदि आप इजाजत देते हो.
मैंने कोई असत्य बात बोली
नहीं, कहने आपने सत्य कहा, लेकिन उसमें जो पाकिस्तानी संघ को जो विरोध हुआ है,
हो गया
आप लोगों को और भी मौका मिलेगा बोलने.
नहीं इजाजत नहीं देंगे.
टाइम बहुत जा रहा है.
तो जो सत्य है, जो वास्तव में आना चाहिए. आपने आधा सत्य बताया, हम पूरा सत्य बताना चाहते हैं. अध्यक्ष जी, यस, बात अध्यक्ष जी, अध्यक्ष जी,
ये तो पॉइंट ऑर्डर में आप क्या बोलते हैं?
अध्यक्ष जी, अध्यक्ष जी, यहाँ पर इंद्रजीत गुप्ता जी ने ठाकरे साहब का उल्लेख, यहाँ पर बाला साहब ठाकरे जी का उल्लेख यहाँ पर किया. पाकिस्तानी क्रिकेट टीम को जो विरोध शिवसेना प्रमुख ने किया है, उसके संदर्भ में यहाँ पर उन्होंने उल्लेख यहाँ पर किया. शिवसेना प्रमुख बाला साहब ठाकरे जी ने, जिन्हें देश पर गर्व है, अरे जो जिनको है वो मैं कह रहा हूँ, आपके बारे में नहीं कह रहा हूँ, मैं आपके बारे में नहीं कह रहा हूँ. देश को आप बोलते हैं, देश को गर्व, मैं आपके बारे में नहीं कर रहा हूँ. आप सुन लीजिए, यही तो बात है, यही तो बात है. आप आधा सत्य सुने, आप पूरा सत्य सुन लीजिए. आपने आधा सत्य सुना है, पूरा सत्य सुन लीजिए. अध्यक्ष जी, जिन्हें देश पर गर्व है, अपने राष्ट्र पर, अध्यक्ष जी,
इसका गर्व क्या?
जिन्हें अपने देश पर, अपने राष्ट्र पर गर्व है, उनका यह मानना है.
बोल रहे हैं
अध्यक्ष जी, अध्यक्ष जी, गर्व करना कोई गुनाह है? What is this? अपने राष्ट्र पर गर्व करना कोई गुनाह है? बैठते हैं यहाँ पे सब सुनते हैं, तो वही बात कह रहे हैं, नाटक करते हैं, सब सुनते हैं। ठाकरे को देश पर गर्व है,
No, please, please.
अपने राष्ट्र पर गर्व करना कोई गुनाह है क्या? उन्हें अपने देश पर गर्व है, ठाकरे जी को राष्ट्र पर गर्व है।
होम मिनिस्टर
अध्यक्ष जी, अध्यक्ष जी, इनका ड्रामा, इनकी नौटंकी हम देख सकते हैं। अध्यक्ष जी,
What is your
एक मिनट में बात करो।
What is your subject?
Within a minute, what is your contribution in this house?
Mr. Sarpar,
Within a minute
please.
में बता रहा हूँ।
Sarpar, please.
अध्यक्ष जी, उन्हें अपने देश पर गर्व है और ये गर्व के बारे में वो ये चाहते हैं कि जो
करने वाले क्या
मलान सिंह जी, what is this?
सबसे बड़े
मलान सिंह जी, please take your seat.
आप हत्यारा हैं। आप इतना सा साहब रखिए। पाकिस्तान, अध्यक्ष जी, पाकिस्तान लगातार
No, Sarpar,
हमारी सीमाओं
please.
पर हमला कर रहा है, लगातार पाकिस्तान हमला कर रहा है, आतंकवाद को इस देश के अंदर बढ़ा रहा है और एक और पाकिस्तान सीमा पर हमला कर रहा है, आतंकवाद इस देश के अंदर बढ़ा रहा है। सुन लीजिए, सुन लीजिए, विरोध क्यों है? विरोध क्यों है वो सुन लीजिए,
please.
विरोध क्यों है आप सुन लीजिए ना।
No, Malan Singh ji, please.
इसलिए ठाकरे जी, इसलिए वाला साहब चाहते हैं
No, please, आप बैठिए. आप बैठिए.
हमारे देश के सीमाओं पर हमला कर रहा है,
This will not go on record, please.
आतंकवाद को बढ़ा रहा है और जब देश के अंदर आतंकवाद बढ़ रहा है तो हमें राष्ट्र के लिए पाकिस्तान के साथ में क्रिकेट नहीं खेलना चाहिए, ये उनका मानना है और ये हमारा आंदोलन है, ये शिवसेना का आंदोलन है। और यदि कोई आंदोलन इस देश के अंदर होता है और हमारे गृह मंत्री यदि आंदोलन करने वाले नेता से मिलते हैं, यदि उन्हें वो विनती करते हैं, रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं, तो इसमें कौन सी बड़ी गलती है? क्या जरूरी है कि हर आंदोलन डंडे के सहारे को होना चाहिए? क्या जरूरी है कि हर आंदोलन पुलिस की सहायता से खत्म करना चाहिए? आंदोलन को नीति बातें करके आंदोलन से सहयोग करके हम आंदोलन को मिटा सकते हैं और यदि गृह मंत्री ने किया तो कोई गलत कदम नहीं उठाया, यही मुझे कहना है।
Indrajit Babu, please. No, Indrajit Babu.
आवाज ऑन द पॉइंट।
No, Indrajit Babu. No, Namma Badi. Indrajit Babu. Indrajit Babu.
समर्थन वापस
No, आप बैठिए. No,
क्या बात
no, please, Indrajit Babu. Please. आप शुरू करिए. आप शुरू करिए, इंद्रजीत बाबू.
बोलिए सर,
इंद्रजीत बाबू.
बोलिए
What is your point of order?
This morning, let me tell you, just remind you.
Does under which rule? Please quote the rule. No, you please quote the rule. No, you first of all you quote the rule. Quote the rule.
When Sonia Gandhi's name
No,
was
please
taken,
quote the rule
he
first.
was
If you are in the point of order, please, what is this?
what ground?
What is this? No point of order.
की जगह है जेल।
He's not a person to reply all his allegations.
No, nothing will go on record.
He should not mention his name.
Indrajit Babu.
अरे बाल ठाकरे के बाद
Indrajit. Please.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Why are you getting so excited?
Only because name was taken by fencing.
Please.
Only name was taken.
Oh, sir.
लालू जी
Differing opinion.
कैसा डिस्टर्ब करता है आप उसको? What is this? You are a senior leader. How can you disturb the house always? You are a senior leader.
सुन रहे हैं सर,
You must assist the fair and
शांति से सुन रहे हैं, शांति से। बाल ठाकरे देश के लिए खतरा है।
No, sir. ये बार ऐसा क्या?
बाल ठाकरे देश के लिए खतरा है। जब बच्चे यहाँ खड़े हो जाएंगे और बोलेंगे
Indrajit Babu.
Sir, we may have different opinions, differing opinions in the country and among the members of the House on this question. But I am saying what I am saying, and I am saying that it was undignified for the Home Minister of India to rush to Mumbai to plead with the leader of the Shiv Sena to somehow get his clearance to allow the cricket match to take place.
Yes.
And I think my view is shared by many people. We have read the newspapers, their comments and all that. The next point, sir, that I wish to make is that as I have already spoken about the composite society, the pluralistic society that has been constructed in India over the years, I feel that this society, the main values of this society, the foundations of this society are under constant pressure and threat now because of these various forces and factors which are operating. And if this is not checked, if the government and the Prime Minister do not take a stronger and firmer stand about this, if it is allowed to go on, it may ultimately weaken and destroy the essential unity of our country. क्या हो गया है? हो क्या गया है?
देश तो खत्म हो गया.
Especially I would say, sir, these attacks which have been taking place on the Christian community, which is only 2% of the whole population. Have our friends ever bothered to think about what its repercussions are there and are taking place in those parts of the country where there is a much bigger Christian population, much more than 2%? I have particularly in mind the Northeast, which is such a sensitive region, in which there are 7 states, and about which we are constantly discussing because it has become a very sensitive state which is open to all kinds of disturbances and insurgencies and all that. Everybody knows the majority of the people living in the Northeast are Christians by religion. And I have checked up and found out that they are deeply distressed and deeply disturbed and agitated by all this news about what is happening to Christians. So it would be good if we did not take these things so lightly and only say that, oh, there should be some debate about conversion, or say that there are no criminals within these organizations like the Bajrang Dal. I think this kind of thing only encourages these people more. And one day retribution will come, because the Christianity professing peoples of the Northeast, I'm not going into other parts of the country, there are big Christian populations in the South also, but the Northeast is dominantly Christian, and we are trying our best to bring that area closer to the mainstream of India and not to allow them to get more and more alienated. But retribution will come one day if they do not see our government taking firm and energetic steps to stop this anti-Christian crusade which is going on. Oh, sir. Then I have 1 or 2 points more. Forcible conversion, definitely band hona chahiye, no doubt about it. But don't say that all conversions are always forcible. ऐसा नहीं भी हो सकता है.
कैसे बंद हुआ?
99% only possible.
Sir, yesterday, Mr. Sangma, and I agree with him 100%, he spoke about the weakening or the denigration of certain institutions in this country. And I would like to just mention that the United Front government, when it was already functioning as a caretaker government, had appointed 2 governors in 2 vacancies. One was in Mizoram, the other was in Goa. Since I was still the Home Minister, I know something about this in detail. The fact that the governor of Mizoram was a very senior IPS police officer who had been Director General of Police. And the other gentleman who was appointed in Goa had been a very senior bureaucrat in the PMO. Neither of them was a politician or had anything to do with politics or had anything to do with any party. They were appointed, and within less than 3 months after this government took over, both these governors were removed, they were dismissed, but no grounds were ever given as to the grounds for their dismissal. It was never alleged that they had misused their powers or done something which governors should not do, or that they had violated the guidelines of Sarkaria Commission. Nothing like that was put forward. Obviously, they were removed simply because they were the appointees of our government, the United Front government. I think this is a wrong thing, blatantly wrong, which was done. And this is one way of weakening the establishment, the governor's institution. I have contrasted with what happened with Bhandari in Bihar, something totally different, where there was good grounds for intervening. And what happened in Mizoram and in Goa, and there were no grounds like that, but still it was done purely on political considerations, partisan considerations. Then, sir, about the Admiral's case,
Yes.
I am still hoping, I don't know if my hopes will fructify or not, that sooner or later this House, the sovereign Parliament of India, will be permitted to discuss the matter, nothing else. That the government, the Prime Minister, the Defence Minister and others will come before the House and make statements, authorized official statements, as to what led to the removal of the Naval Chief. And then allow a discussion to take place. That's all we are asking for, at least what I am asking for. If it is not allowed, there are so many instances which can be cited of democratic countries where parliaments are functioning, elected are parliaments, which have permitted discussions to be held on defense matters, on army matters, even in the midst of hostilities being carried on in their countries, war going on, even in the middle of that, during war. If you like, I can bring those instances and show you how the House of Commons, the American Congress, US Congress, were allowed to discuss these matters, and shelter was not taken behind the plea that these are matters of security matters and therefore they should not be discussed. So, what I am saying is, sir, that not allowing the House to discuss this amounts, in my opinion, to a contempt of Parliament. The media can be told, the ministers can appear on TV and make wrong statements as to why they took this stand. But Parliament is not permitted to hear about it from the government or to discuss the matter. This, I think, is intolerable. This is the first time in the history of our country that Parliament has been treated in this way. I read that the Honorable Prime Minister has said somewhere, once or twice, when the demand for a JPC was raised very stridently, first of all by our Congress friends, he has said that a JPC can come only after a debate and discussion is over. If a debate or a discussion shows that there is some prima facie matters of corruption, this is dealing with the corruption matters which Bhagwat had raised, then a JPC certainly can be appointed to go into those matters. But without a discussion or anything, you cannot suddenly have a JPC floating in the air, hanging in the air. Okay, I accept his argument. Then why don't you allow the discussion? Allow the discussion. If something comes out of it which you feel requires further investigation, then the case for the JPC will be made much stronger. But on the one hand you say no JPC, on the other hand you say no discussion, then why not abolish this parliament? Why are we keeping it? For what purpose? So this way of demolishing established constitutional institutions of the country, I am not bothered about this man Bhagwat. Whether, you see, I don't know whether he has done something right or wrong, or he should have behaved in a different manner, and so on. Maybe. I am bothered about the institution of the service chiefs. Today it is the naval chief, tomorrow it may be the army chief or the air force chief. These are institutions under whom there are thousands of men who are responsible for the safety and the defense of this country. Thousands of trained men who carry out orders of these chiefs. The chief has a big responsibility. He is not a chaprasi or a cook or something that he can be dismissed just like that, without anybody being told what is the ground for his removal, without giving him any chance to defend himself, without any inquiry being held. How can this be permitted? And Parliament must be allowed to express its views on this matter, sir. I am very much concerned about what we hear. I don't know, we are hearing about so many reactions and repercussions among the armed forces as a result of the way that this removal was done. I am not saying the removal was not necessarily justified. It may have been, may not have been. But the way in which it was done, you see, has certainly caused deep concern and anguish among many people in the armed forces, including senior officers, retired officers and all that. So I would request that provision must be made at the earliest for a proper discussion.
By the new government.
One thing the defense minister had said was that this admiral had become a security risk. It's a very, very serious thing to say, sir. A very serious charge to make against the head of one of the defense forces unless it is proved. If it was found that he was a security risk, when was that found? How long ago? And if it was found that he is a security risk, why was he not removed earlier? And if he was a security risk who was doing something betraying the interests of the country, he should have been court-martialed or some severe steps should have been taken against him much earlier. You do nothing, then suddenly he is removed, no grounds are given, no explanation from the government, and then when he comes out with some counter charges against the defense minister, then you start saying that he has become a security risk. But you will not be allowed to discuss these matters in Parliament. Sir, I think this is an intolerable situation. No elected Parliament in any country would tolerate this kind of behavior towards it. Therefore, kindly see to it that in the course of the present session, time is found for a proper discussion on this matter. Finally, I would say, sir, with regard to the finance minister, well, he has said so many things and made so many claims, and his budget is there, and we have still to discuss the budget, and we have still to come to the finance bill and all that. My main charge against him is that his present policies, they may be the policies of his predecessors also. I don't say it is something original which has come out of his brain. There is a continuity of these things. But ever since 1981, certain policies are being followed. 91, economic policies, financial policies, commercial policies, which are more or less being still pursued along the same lines. And my contention is that these policies, for example, the import-export policy, is being implemented in a way which will destroy, if not weaken seriously, the interests of our national industries. the industries which have been built up over the years by the toil of our people in this country, the employers, the investors, the entrepreneurs, the workers, all these people together we have constructed quite a big industrial sector in our country. There's no doubt about it. It's bigger than in many other developing countries or former colonial countries. Now we want that sector to be further strengthened, to be further expanded. We don't want it to be curtailed. We don't want it to be weakened by allowing unequal competition with much more powerful rivals, competitors from abroad, who have immense resources at their disposal, such resources as our poor investors and entrepreneurs can never hope to mobilize. And you throw open the gates, you throw open the doors to them to come in. You reduce import duties all along the line. I'm not the one who's complaining only. The people who are affected are complaining that they won't be able to stand the competition from these powerful multinationals and others coming from abroad. And gradually our establishments and our factories and industries will have to close down. Or they will certainly be very seriously affected by what is happening. So I think that there is something has come up inside the context of the BJP called Swadeshi Jagaran Manch. Well, I don't know, some of you may be in that. Swadeshi Jagaran Manch, I'm not very clear where they have spelt out exactly what they want. Swadeshi is a very easy word to use. Of course, it can mean many things. Certainly, I think it should mean some amount of self-reliance, much more than we are practicing at the moment. And it should not be done in such a way that only Indian monopoly houses and those who are able to collaborate with the foreign companies, only they will prosper and all the others will go to the wall. The present Disinvestment Commission's activities also, in cases of some very leading public sector concerns and some public sector concerns which are doing well, making good profits, are recommended for heavy disinvestment of their shares. I don't know, this seems to me to be a preliminary step towards their privatization. In spite of everything that we are reassured by the Finance Minister that we have taken a pledge to protect these industries and strengthen them and see that they are properly run and all that. But we have grave misgivings. And I think these misgivings are shared by certainly one section of our entrepreneur investor
Our
class.
standing committee has recommended against. Unanimous report
Oh, what?
of ITI in Bangalore and
Yes,
HTL.
yes, those companies,
Yes.
they are
Standing committee on
expressing great
communication.
alarm at what is taking place.
Unanimous recommendation against.
So, Mr. Prime Minister, I would request you not to leave this all to Yashwant Sinha, but you also to take more interest to look into it and see that the interests of our native domestic industries are properly protected and they are not driven to the wall by because these global fellows are out now to capture the markets everywhere. Everybody knows that. Globalization means that the more powerful are out to capture the markets of the less powerful country. Who does not know it? The big drive is going on. And they have tremendous resources at their disposal. So we must be quite clear as to where we will allow them to enter, where we will not allow them to enter, or where we will allow them to enter only on certain conditions, so that the basic interests of our own industries and our people are safeguarded. What is wrong with that? I don't see. It is wrong to sacrifice them because some very rich and powerful people are pressurizing us and pressurizing our governments to open the gates wider and wider for them to come in. This policy, sir, in the long run, I think will harm very much the interests of our national economy And this should be looked into, and wherever necessary it should be rectified, and a new policy which may not be liked by some other people, but which we should have the courage to push through. There are some smaller countries who are doing it. I may just end, sir, by saying that
This government cannot.
very recently I was on a visit to Vietnam. Vietnam is one of those countries, sir, which among those South Asian and Southeast Asian countries had suffered from a great slump and recession and bankruptcy of firms and all that. You know what happened in South Korea and Indonesia and these countries. After they had prospered a lot and everybody was hailing them as the new tigers, Asian tigers and all that, you suddenly discovered that they're no longer tigers, but they have become pussycats. And suffering greatly from closures, from bankruptcies, from unemployment, from retrenchment and all that. We found to our surprise that Vietnam, being a very, very small country, had somehow or other managed to avoid this crisis and escape it. How? I did not know. I took advantage of my stay there to have some discussions with some of the ministers and other people and asked them. And what they said was that our experience has been that if we go all out to mobilize our domestic resources and not become dependent on World Bank and IMF, go all out to mobilize our own resources and shape our production process in a way which caters for the needs of our people and our domestic market and not only for purposes of profit making, then we can escape the worst offensive of this kind of capitalist crisis. Sir, a prescription has been given, you may not like it, by the first Asian, not first Indian, but first Asian, to become the master of Trinity College, Cambridge, a prestigious college, and later got a Nobel Prize, Dr. Amartya Sen, who visited this country recently. I think all Indians should be proud of him and his achievement, but it was of course natural, he being a Bengali, that he got a much bigger reception and all that, felicitations, while he was in Calcutta, in Shantiniketan, in other places in Bengal. Much bigger reception and felicitations than he got in the capital city of India.
No reception.
Here also,
yet.
no, I think he got a reception, but it was nothing very much. But Doctor,
अरे charity क्या?
Amartya Sen, I can't go into the details now, he has prescribed some 5 or 6 things for poorer countries, developing countries like ours, as to how to lift themselves up. And he has said that production should not be measured only in terms of quantum of output and quantum of profits, but should also be measured on the availability and utilization of local resources for consumption of the people and their requirements and for the home markets. He has also stressed greatly in the course of which he cited the example of Kerala, that is primary education, women's education especially, and education of the girl child, health care in the villages, in the rural areas, land reforms, and he has said that the quality of social life in any country, the quality of social life and political life will only improve when greater and greater numbers of women can be qualified to come forward and participate in it. A view which is not very easily reflected in our parliament, unfortunately, but I'm just telling you what Amartya Sen has said. And this is a prescription that he is going around advocating. I would request the finance minister.
वो नहीं करेंगे वो।
No, he will not go with this, that there are plenty of documents, books and things which he can study to see what the implications of this policy are as advocated by him, and try to see, sir, that if we try to follow that prescription to the extent possible and practicable in our country, it might bring us good dividends. So that's all I have to say, and therefore I cannot support the motion of the Prime Minister, because I certainly don't want to support Mr. Acharya Giriraj Kishore or Ashok Singhal, unless I know that the government is going to prevent these people from carrying out their anti-national activities. And up to now, they have been following a very weak and vacillating policy towards these organizations, which are disruptive, which are communal, which are violent, which are prepared to do anything in order to reach their objectives. If that is done, then I am prepared.
अरे मैं छाए
Anti-national activities के बारे में क्या रहे?
ठीक है, उसके बारे में
How can he say that their activities are anti-national? This is a very serious word. Anti-national activities, he is saying. किसी का भी नाम ले, जो लोग अपने आप को डिफेंड नहीं कर पाते हैं, उनकी एक्टिविटीज एंटी-नेशनल कैसे हो गई?
No, please.
So, sir, for these reasons, I do not. For these reasons, sir, I do not find it possible to support the motion moved by the Honorable Prime Minister, expressing confidence in his government, and therefore I oppose it along with other members of the Parliament.
George Fernandez.